in the first half of the season just never really seemed to have arisen in that map.
Yep, yeah, no, and they had a, you know, we've seen them go up in many series and then kind of taper off. Like you're saying, we did not see that whatsoever. So let's have a look at the veto for map number 2. Pittsburgh taking on Sinister. Now, I can't remember whose map pick that actually was. That probably would have been something important to have written down. It, of course, was Sinister's in that previous match. Damn! We were so close to the first match day, giving us a bit of theme park, but they've snatched it away from me, Raven.
They have, but Villa is great. I love watching a bit of Villa. It's one of my favorite maps, actually, to cast and to play. I would have loved to have seen some theme park, though, and I think we're going to see teams bait out the theme park veto quite a lot.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see it like at the tail end of map vetoes.
And why do you think that is? Do you have a theory as to why that is, or do you think it's more so to try and keep it in to take other more important maps out?
So when you know there's a map that a lot of teams don't like to play, or that teams just generally don't play, you want them to have to ban it out so that you can then use your veto towards something a little more effective. I think a lot of teams, if they've stratted theme park, will be able to comfortably bait it out towards the end, knowing they don't have to ban it, because if it comes to it, they've got some strats, so they're okay playing on it. Whereas some teams will just straight out say, rest of the season, we're just gonna, that's one of our auto bans, like we're never playing that. So you can use that to your advantage.
It's one of the, it's one of the things that I've always found interesting in the veto process is obviously how you use your effective bans. In best of ones, I feel like it's not as prevalent, but obviously in the best of threes where maybe you let something slip in the first veto and then come in for that second round veto to try and ban it out. I always find it really interesting where it lies, but unfortunately it's just the best of one, and I was just kind of going on a tangent there. But we do head to Villa. I'm just having a look for any results. We've seen a 4-7 from Pittsburgh against Elevate, and I'm thinking nothing. No, one other result, which was Sinister being defeated by TBD 3-7. So both of these teams don't have the best results, but I don't think that's a good indication at all.
No, and I mean, like, we had that pretty much going into Clubhouse as well. I mean, both teams had that draw against Wildcard and then the 7-3 loss against Fnatic.
Yep.
But I think coming into Villa, all that kind of stuff is just out the window.
Yeah.
Especially after what we just saw. Sinister look completely different to their first half.
Talk about confidence and taking it in. That is, I think, going to play a large portion. Let me ask you real quick, Sinister or Pittsburgh?
After that first map, man, I'm kind of feeling Sinister. Like, they're really starting to, feels like, reach the potential that people maybe expected of them at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And they had rounds where they had man advantages that they actually closed out, and like that was a massive issue for them in the first half.
Yeah.
The amount of rounds that they had 3 versus 1 man advantages, or even 4 versus 1 man advantages, and they just lost them a lot. That didn't happen to them on Clubhouse, and so if they're able to continue that, I think they can take Villa.
Well, look, I think the community was onto something in that last match. They clearly knew something that we didn't. They knew they were going to throw the fake in there. Let's have a look at what you think for this matchup. We are going to be seeing a very similar, actually, if not more heavy skew towards Sinister, and I think after that last performance, it's very clear why.
Yeah, and there's a bit more in for the draw here, which is fair enough as well, but I think either way, yeah, we can see there's some good support for Sinister coming into this map, and it's justified. They played really well on Clubhouse, there's no doubting that.
Yep.
And to the other end, Pittsburgh played not that great.
Yeah.
So, like, they never really seemed like they adapted that well to what Sinister were doing, and once that fakey round came out, it was kind of done at that stage, it looked like.
Give him a little fakey fake, give him a little candy. That, I cannot believe how much of a momentum killer that had to be for Pittsburgh. But they need to pick it up now. They need to take this into map number 2, refresh themselves, Raven, because it's back-to-back games here in the ANZ region.
It is, and that's the thing about having the 2 best-of-ones back-to-back. There is no rest against your opponent. You get them on one night, and that is it for the season. So if Pittsburgh want their revenge against Sinister, it has to be in Villa. And will the operator bans have as much of a play on how this goes as opposed to Clubhouse? Because really, we didn't see many attack rounds 3 in fact, in the entirety of Clubhouse. Seeing a Thatcher ban come out again, pretty common. Not too surprising, and also very strong on Villa. It plays a massive role. Again, denying those hard walls. It's already a bit tricky. The fact that you can impact trick them with ease. Maverick, go on again, Manic. We're in the same situation we were in Clubhouse.
Surely not the Maestro in the mirror. I feel like they're just Maestro and Mirror are two pretty common bans that we see on the defensive side. Will we see either of these teams shake it up? It has... I mean, I'm just upset we don't get to see our Thatcher boy, but that's all right. We will move on from that. Mirror taken off. No. No, here comes another just like the other Raven.
It's very much mirroring the first map, and look, they are strong bans, and that is why we are seeing it. Mirror is fantastic for intel collection. She's a pain to deal with. And Mute is actually, I love this ban because he is also, speaking of a pain to deal with, those Mute jams can be a pain to deal with, and without EMPs, you'll actually have to, you know, be a bit creative with dealing with them. And if they're on hard floor, you can't even just go below his IQ or ping it out for a buck or something like that. You have to be able to get through the doorway. So the Mute ban is going to be helpful for the attack. Finally something to help the attack.
So we will be heading to Aviator and Games, as we do have little breaks in our flow of our conversation. I'm going to be quickly filling in this gorgeous spreadsheet. Today's lesson, kids, spreadsheets and how they work. And DevMart are starting on that. So let's see whether Pittsburgh are actually able to get back up on their horse, excuse the pun, with the Knights.
They have got defense for the first half, and that will help them a little bit to be able to get back in their groove. There's nothing worse than trying to back up a bad map with trying to attack. Because especially with these bans, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be around the bush. They're not going to be easy attacks. They will probably require a bit of aggression and some coordinated fragging. So peeking together, getting refrags, that kind of thing. And with Knights having a bad mindset, or generally a bad map in general, coming off of that into an attack phase like that can be really, really difficult.
It can, and it's not exactly the way we thought the second half of the season would start for them. It's not the fairy tale ending, or rather the fairy tale beginning, or maybe it is the fairy tale beginning. Maybe this is how we see their storyline progress. They're in dire need of some points here. Just maintaining on that. They kind of pivoted right now in that 5th position with Wildcard only just above them by about 5 points. So every match is going to be vitally important.
Some good droning and pushing here from Sinister. They've had great entry into this top floor, but Dino shuts that down. Luna taken off the board. Zofia utility not used can really come back to bite them, especially with the Maestro on the board. Means that the Evil Eyes being taken out will come down to Fisher Guy or Nico. Not as simple as if the Zofia was able to do with them.
Drones up and running.
So they start to make a more directed approach. Sinister, they still need to tread with the utmost caution. They do not want to drop another player. However, we have seen them being able to claw it back after being the man, sometimes the second man down. Comes the flashes. Fisho Guy now going to look for Red Stairs player. As you expect him, Stigs might have heard the drop, but really nicely read from Fisho Guy. Dino does, however, keep that one player advantage.
Yeah, that roam working out pretty well, but Sinister have been able to trade these back to keep it even. They're not really able to progress as much onto site and trouble them. Nico finally trying to push 90. It is clear, so they can take it if they drone it. One does wonder though, have they got their flank watched well enough? There is another Knights player lower down, and they can choose to rotate around to the Astro Stairs, which if not watched will be the undoing for Sinister.
See something there, Red? I felt like you were taken back for a second. I was about to start talking and saw a little... Oh, how's that? Fisho Guy nearly caught that one, but instead blows it out of the air and straight onto the side, pushing in toward Vault, continuing that pressure. It allows for the rest of Sinister to continue pushing in. It's Hayward to try and deny, and it looks like he's going to be shut down the second he comes around the corner of the plate, but he's waiting for that. Users down. V2. Does he see the top of that head? He might just be able to make it happen. No, it is the character model, rather the operator model, that saves Milo there and actually baits out Hayward.
So if anybody is wondering, that was the bun on the elite skin for Hibana. was going to say, that bloody bun sticking over the top of the counter, Miley would have been cursing the fact if he died to that, but actually it kind of helped him.
Yep.
Because it baited out the shots of the defender, knew the position, he was able to pop up and pre-fire it. And a great start from Sinister, winning their first attack. And again, really spiraling Pittsburgh into a terrible position.
Yep.
Just losing that first defense on top of how they lost Clubhouse. I mean, it feels like it's been forever since they won a round. It's probably almost been an hour.
Well, yes, actually it would be, including the rehost and even longer than that maybe with the pause and everything. This is not... I mean, that would have to be frustrating for Pittsburgh. I'm sure, look, when you think about it, I'm sure that's not at the utmost forefront of their mind when it comes to how long has it been. But still, with how Sinister have been able to claw these rounds away from the team, it just kind of feels like it's snowballing, but it is. It's a very slow, eventual grasp that Sinister have grabbed on this game.
Yeah, they need to slow the bleeding, so to speak, because if it keeps going, it's just going to get away from them. And I worry for them if they can't get this round or the next round. It can be really difficult to bring back. On the other hand, Sinister, they just need to keep going. And even if they do lose a round, they just need to not let it affect them because they're having some great teamwork here. They traded out a lot of those kills that were coming out at the start of that round on the roam. They traded those out, and then it was a great execute onto site, just refragging to keep that man advantage and get the plant down. It's a great siege from them so far.
Apologies for nearly cutting you off there.
Oh, that's fine.
So as you do, Dino, feeling comfortable to go for that? May as well. And now backing away to the southern side of the map, looking across toward Aviator. Strider's going to back him up here as well. Sinister are going to need to be a little bit more cautious on their approach from that southern side. However, that is completely and entirely up to them whether they will approach from there. Fisher guy, first floor already, just clearing out, looking toward the Astro stairs.
It's a nice vertical push so far from Sinister, trying to clear some utility here. Not a whole lot happening, no engagements, and that's something that I'm kind of surprised. I thought Knights might have decided to heavy contest this vertical play that Sinister are doing, but none of them have rotated at all down below, and all that Maestro could have lost his life there was Stig's avoiding those bullets from below from Vinnie. And now we do see some Knights players rotating. They're coming through Library, and there is two of them. Sinister aren't prepared, could be a big issue.
Holding back on deeper lines. Vinnie needs to be careful because Strider's there waiting. Walks into open arms. Strider will give him a big old hug and send him to the bench for this round. Now Sinister starting to take a little bit more control, but Joey is not having a bar of it. Pittsburgh stands strong and delete two of the players to begin with, but this is where things can change. This is where rounds are won and lost.
It is, and some peaks coming out from Sinister. Nico does find one. Luna's going to repel straight into a death there. Dino on the stairs, not droned or been aware of. Nice frag coming out from Nico again. He's just on point with these nades. I would love to see how many nade kills he's actually got in this series. It has to be upwards 3, 4, maybe even 5. It is going to be all up to him in this round.
"35 seconds. Diffuser not in hand. Start to approach though. Both players across to that B site. Take around this corner and give them the opening they're looking for. Could this be the money? This could be huge right now. The nade comes over the top and drops Stigs as well. 2 from 2. Gives himself the opportunity and will reset here, Raven. This could be it. This could be massive for Sinister.
He has to either bait the plant here or go for the frag, and Nico, what a nutty round from him. He gets 2 grenade kills and a nice peek and closes it out. Rob, oh, this man is unstoppable so far.
A 3v1. Words escape me, Nico. What a way to bring that back. I believe that's now 5-0 in the first 2 rounds. But let me just bring it back for a second into map number 1. Nico stood strong for Sinister more times than I can count. Multiple frags in rounds, opening frags. I believe there was a KD of around 6-1 on opening duels, 5-1 even on opening duels. That's 6 rounds. that he had a huge impact on. And now it's transferring into Villa. If you're Pittsburgh right now, you have to be concerned about this.
On top of that, this again just piles on to a potential really bad mindset that's starting to build in the Knights with how map 1 finished off, losing 6 rounds in a row. And now they've lost 2 rounds in a row here, sure. But the way they lost that last round, it was a 3v1. And 2 of those picks that Nico got were grenades. So they're not going to be feeling very good at all, and they have to do something to bounce back here, because if Sinister keep running away with these attacks, I just think it's a runaway train.
10 seconds to insertion.
It has certainly felt that way, Raven. And just to give clarity, that is now...
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb.
Oh my goodness. That's 8 rounds in a row from Sinister, from map 1 to map 2 now. Pittsburgh, there are definitely concerns and questions surrounding this, but again, I don't want to put that much pressure on Pittsburgh. They're not in the worst placing in terms of the ladder. However, they were looking to start on a strong note with Pittsburgh Knights, and it hasn't happened as of yet. Stigs is very close to the remainder of Sinister here. Droned out, but not pushed out of position yet. And with that, will fold his cards and try to back away, but Fisho guy, unrelenting, holds the line and shuts him down.
There's nothing happening here for Knights. I like the decision to try and play that little bit more aggressive to, you know, put Sinister back in their box. But it didn't work out for Stigs, and to be honest, he was kind of alone. Maybe they'll try and play a refrag differently, or they were using his position a little more strategically, but either way, wasn't a refragable position, and neither was that. That's Hayward dying at the top of red stairs really early here. That's 2 picks in the first minute, essentially. Sinister steamrolling ahead, getting a lot of map control, and they have a lot of time to be able to push to site.
We were saying that it is full steam ahead for Sinister and has been ever since. I don't know whether he actually got that. No, he didn't. That's a little bit unfortunate. And the 2 names that he's had. Oh, he baits out Joey G incredibly. The brain on Nico is just ridiculous. Fisho guy shuts down Dino as well. And look, Strider, you can try all you will, but the might of Sinister right now is too much.
Unbelievable, man. Just Nico is hitting everything, it feels like, except for that one grenade. But he feels like he's hitting everything, and the confidence on Sinister is absolutely night and day compared to how they were playing in the first half. Just pushing through for refrags. They're barely losing solid man advantage, especially on this map. It's been 1-1-1-1 when it needs to be. The only time was that Nico clutch. Either way, this 3 rounds in a row, Rob. 9 rounds in a row in the series for Sinister. Pittsburgh are just on the ropes, almost out for the count. It's just not looking good at all.
No, I echo your statement there, Raven. It's been a very, very tough start to the night. This can also be the issue with the format that we have, where we see 2 best-of-1s played on the same night with the same teams. If you all of a sudden have a drop in mentality, in momentum in match 1, it is undoubtedly going to be crossing over into map 2. And for me, Raven, that's where you can kind of define the good teams versus the great teams. How do you manage that momentum when things are going wrong?
Yeah, and it's about somebody just breaking that pattern, not letting it deteriorate, not letting it get there, and also in preparation. If you've done a lot of work to prepare for the team you're against, and it's performing well or executing, then great, you ride that through. And if it's not, you have to be ready to adapt. You can't just submit. I'm not saying that's what the Knights have done, but either way, they have to have been ready for a strong Sinister. Maybe they've underestimated them. I mean, that could also be fair to say, given how Sinister were playing in the first half. Look, it's
really hard as commentators to... I mean, like, we're from Australia, right? So we like to be friends with everyone. We're mates with everyone. It's really hard to do a valley and just go in on the team, even regardless of our relationship with them.
Yeah.
It is hard to give the facts that are there, but there is undoubtedly a sense of just being unprepared for Sinister, it feels, and that could come down to their placing on the ladder, Raven, like you were saying. It could come down to a number of things, but right now, Sinister are just looking heads and shoulders better than Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they really are. coordination is here for Sinister. And early on, before the series started, we talked about some role changes that Sinister were implementing. One being Milo going to an IGL role to free up Fisher a little bit. And I mean, look how he played on Clubhouse. He actually played fantastically on Clubhouse. Maybe that was due to having that freedom or just another voice in comms helping them along. Either way, the ship looks much steadier.
So Nico, for one of the first times in the last 8 rounds that we've seen from Sinister, will not have an impact at all. In fact, that's the buck gone. Bit of the vertical play now being denied. Vishokai from behind. An oversight, no doubt, from Dino. And once more, Haywood coming up Astro stairs. Vishokai will be caught out. However, it has laid waste to the remainder of Sinister. This is not looking good. First time we've been able to say that Pittsburgh are looking the better on this occasion.
Yeah, they've really been picking them off one by one, and that's something that I was highlighting as strong from Sinister, as they were able to refrag a lot. But that hasn't happened so much in this round. There was the one that came from Fisho getting that pick from Trophy, but either way, that's something that Knights have been able to do. And considering the time left, only 50 seconds, and the little amount that's really been worked on site besides these vertical holes, I think it's going to be hard for Sinister to close this out. If Knights can hold on, it could be what starts to bring it back for them. But either way, if I was Sinister, even if they don't win another round in this attack half, I'd still be pretty happy with that.
Oh, for sure, especially coming into this and you're able to actually back up what you had before. Milo almost opening up the round for good there. 20 seconds left. No room to move for Sinister. They'll be backing themselves into a corner as they come in. Pinged out. Milo does get caught out. However, he will be able to find one. Now pushes in a little bit more aggressive. The shot through the wall won't hit. And with that, it will just be Luna to try and... Never mind. See you later. Left, right. Good night. Haywood will secure Pittsburgh's first round in 9.
Bit of a monkey off the back, I'd say, for finally closing a round out there after so long. They've got an opportunity to really reel it back in. And they have to back it up, because if they continue to lose defenses, it's not going to be looking good for them at all. They're going back to Trophy Statue, is the one that by all rights they had in the bag until Nico pulled out a nutty clutch. So they're going to back themselves on their strats and how they played it and see if they can actually close it out this time.
Can't stress enough that it is... It will come down to, at the end of the season, just the smaller games that have counted toward this. Both of these teams, both Pittsburgh and the Sinister, have the lower level teams in terms of the ladder to go. So they've gotten the big dogs out of the way, and they can really start to make a bit of a dent in their own point system here. Luna, unfortunately, on the donut, but Joey G and Stigs on the baguettes. It's the singular for now. As are Pittsburgh in rounds against Sinister. It is something to work from, and Raven, like you said, literally not even 2 minutes ago, about the fact that Sinister would be pretty damn happy with where they're sitting right now in this series.
Yeah, it's a good spot to be in an attack half on Villa to have already had 3 rounds in the pocket. You can let one slip by. Maybe there was a really big error in droning or something like that. That's going to say, hey, you know what? We really messed up the droning. We'll fix it next round. And that's like a really important way to try and deal with mindset. It's one thing to try and correct what you're doing wrong, but to tunnel in on it and let it kind of get you down, that's where things start to fall apart more. So hopefully Sinister are able to just push past it and see how they go with this round. They had some struggles last time they attacked it, so if they can adapt to that, they might be able to get this one.
Sinister going to be starting with that downward roam, trying to clear Pittsburgh out, which this time doesn't look like they've actually got the one deep on the basement floor. That'll be Strider. Blitz still with plenty of utility left. Really get droned out here, he might actually be able to find one for free. Again, this could be a big start to the round for Pittsburgh, but Strider not being given anything just yet. Vishokai is just on the other side. Kitchen Vinnie as well now joining the party. Seems like they have a pretty good inkling as to where he is. Will he edge around the corner in time? He's going to be able to spot the foot and the head, but Strider will rip his off before he gets a chance to even make the decision.
I have to wonder whether that was droned. I mean, Vinnie looked pretty certain someone was down there, but also uncertain at the same time. And he did lose the gunfight in the end. Maybe they could have used another drone. There was the Ash sitting in the kitchen. He might not have had a drone on him, not sure. Either way, that kind of felt like it could have been preventable. So not good there for Sinister. They will look like they're going to get this wall open though. Nice nade to push away the player on the other side. Though Strider finds a pick. That means that there is a solid man advantage into the favour of Knights coming into this final minute.
There's one big problem in this. Nico still has the nade. Oh no, wowzers. Milo, a little bit unfortunate there with that C4 coming through the floor. At least it only drops him for the moment. Nade's going to come in deep onto the wall. We'll back that up with Revive. Uno just trying to hold down the staircase, but time is of the essence here, Raven, and it is slowly falling apart. Make that quickly falling apart. Luna will find one, and I don't know whether there is enough in this round for Sinister to be able to even have a sniff. You can see one of the Pittsburgh members just literally waiting for the footstep. Strider. 3 kills? 4 kills?
A lot of kills.
I think it was 3 in the end.
Yeah, good round from Strider. And Knights are starting to back it up. That was really strong. Some errors from Sinister really appearing here. I feel like, again, Vinnie's death could have been preventable with some better drone work. Or even the Ash that was in kitchen. Yeah, maybe they were holding the flank at the bottom of the Astra stairs at the China door. But they could have pushed for a refrag or something. Something better could have come in that situation. Really stemmed from that. So they have to get past that now. Final round of this half. Can Knights secure their final defense? They're going back to Aviator Games Room where they were essentially dismantled last time. It was a pretty strong attack from Sinister. It did come down to a 2v1, but either way, Sinister looked pretty comfortable.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
So Pittsburgh obviously very hungry to keep this at the 3-3 scoreline. In fact, it's not replicating, but it's quite similar to how we saw Clubhouse pan out, in which kind of led into the eventual comeback of Sinister. Will we see something similar from Pittsburgh? That's the real question right now. We are constantly questioning the resilience of these ANZ teams. Coming into map 2, there's always, there's pressure, but there's also relief knowing you have that second chance. And if I'm being completely honest, Pittsburgh have done a good job of making this a chance, of making this an opportunity to come back in the series and possibly take the win and the loss at the same time. Again, every point is quite crucial.
I mean, you brought up a good point about the way Clubhouse played out, and we're kind of seeing that. Oh, Dino.
Come on, Dino.
Kind of seeing that in that Sinister were up 3-1. Knights have got that round now, and that's where we saw Sinister win 6 rounds in a row. So history has a chance to repeat itself on this map in the opposite though for Knights, but maybe with that first pick, not going to happen.
Felt a little bit antsy, a little bit pressured and pushed from Dino to make that work. We saw him attempt a run out a little bit earlier in the map, and it didn't really come to any avail. And this time Nico is going to double down, find Strider as well, leaving only Stigs, Joey and Haywood to hold down the fort. Stigs, how much longer he's going to stay alive for? Maybe just enough for Haywood to get into position to try and capitalize on some distracted members. The C4 is going to come through, but he's going to be denied. Milo on the receiving end of those, rather on the delivering end of those bullets.
Sinister really shut down this aggression nicely there, and you have to question, Knights have got 2 rounds in a row to bring it back. Maybe they're still being a little over-aggressive. I like the consistency to stick with what has been working, but maybe you could argue for this last defense, especially on Aviator games. You don't have to have some like gnarly roam happening. You don't have to be peeking everything. And that's kind of what Knights have done, and half the round gone, it's essentially a 5v1 at this stage with Joey downed.
Oh,
A bomb has been
now it is.
located.
Now it is. Nico making short work of Pittsburgh, it feels. pinged out, and, well, eventually to come to the demise. Stigs, there is only so long you can live for at 90, and eventually it's too hot to handle. A flawless round to finish the first half for Sinister.
A great half from Sinister at that. Stig's essentially done and dusted in 90. They had players watching all the way from the top of main stairs, players watching from the trophy double. No chance for him to get out of there alive. And Sinister, having that advantage out of their attack half on Villa, has got to feel pretty comfy for them and also put more pressure back onto the Knights.
And we talk about a game of ebbs and flows, of the tales of two halves. That is an incredible first half to walk away with, just saying, well and truly comfortable for Sinister, but it does feel like there was a small comeback mounting from Pittsburgh, and has it been all but diminished? Has Sinister taken the sting out of the sword of the Knights?
Yeah, we will have to see how Knights bounce back in their attack half. Stranger things have happened, and I'd maybe even say that these days it's not so strange, that sometimes with bands like what we're seeing, the Thatcher and the Maverick, Villa actually comes into its own as more of an attacking map. It's happened a few times where it just seems like the attacks should not be winning, especially as comfortably as they have, but they are.
Yep.
Even Elevate earlier in the season, they had a fantastic map on Villa where they played little to no hard bridge, but they were winning strongly, and it was just based on the back of good teamwork and lots of refrags.
5 seconds left before
There's
insertion.
been an abundance of that for Pittsburgh, if we're being completely honest, and I think that's not, I don't think that that's telling of Pittsburgh as it is of Sinister. It's definitely been looking very promising for the squad that was on the bottom of the ladder. Mind you, they're now drawing with anger at 4 points apiece. But that's nothing to take away just yet. They finish this, and they'll be feeling a lot more comfortable. 3 rounds to go for the defensive side, whereas Knights, well, they have a mountain to climb. However, Raven, you have just alluded to the fact that it's not out of the realms.
No, definitely not.
Bomb located
Milo
by
playing a
attacker.
very aggressive position. I like the angle that he is getting there into the bedroom, but could be ended clearly with a nade. That being said, ADS next to him, maybe not. Will give Knights something to think about. They are burning those ADSs. A beautifully cooked nade, and Milo reads it and gets out of there. I like that from him. Delayed some time. A lot of utility used just to flush him out, simply. They did clear the shield at least, but either way, it was over a minute burned from basically nothing.
It's extremely good as well. It looks like Sinister have called it and went back toward the side, as now Pittsburgh starting to get a little bit more antsy. Starting to take a little bit more ground, but as already noted, Sinister are happy to allow them to do so. They're all falling back toward the side now. The roams aren't as strong as what we saw to begin with. And look at the time. They've just completely burnt it off. Not only that, Hayward's been taken down by Luna.
Yeah, looking good for Sinister so far in their defenses. The Knights just not adapting to what Sinister pulled out. Give them credit though, it's the first round. Haven't really seen what Sinister want to bring on these defenses. But Knights are going to have to bring some more heat, because at the moment they're the ones that are cooking under this pressure.
Don't mind if I do, Raven. Fortunately, there's no caster cam, so you can't see the interactions between us, but I'm sure you can make it up as you go. Strider now with that defuser. Already on the floor in which he needs to. Dino and Joey, they've slowly cleared out this roam, but look at Nico. Nico's just joined the party. He might be able to find Dino here.
Ooh.
If he does, the round really starts to fall out of control, but it looks like Pittsburgh might just be able to make a last grasp attempt. But it's still yet to be decided. The next engagement surely will be a crucial one.
Yeah, definitely funneling towards a plant on the dining side there. They have that breach open, so it gives them another option now, but it is only Hibana charges, so they will have to crouch through. Final 13 seconds. Fragged up from above, Rob. Can Knights get the plant down?
Feels like they're going to after that one. The vertical play does give them the room to breathe, but is this possible? Can they slow this down? The diffuser's gone down, but so too are the players on Pittsburgh. Dino just gets away with his life. However, Luna has to come in now. Will be able to drop one, and now into a 1v1. Joey needs to be careful here. Can buy the time. Luna edging around the corner. There's still time left to pick up. Oh, wow. Okay. I did not think that was going to happen, if I'm completely honest there, Raven. Do we think that that was vertical play all of a sudden?
I'm not sure whether maybe they had some intel or they were uncertain. I was surprised she didn't pick Milo up. Luna definitely had the chance to pick him up, if not use that as the bait as opposed to go for the defuse. She had more options, but then again, maybe they had some intel or thought they had some intel that he was much closer or in a better position. So Pittsburgh getting away with that one because it wasn't looking too good at the start. Sinister did pretty well to keep on top of it with the nice early play, wasted a lot of utility, refragged until the end, but they did not come away with it. So Knights stringing some things together here to success.
Maybe some fortunate timing, some fortunate calls that go the way of Pittsburgh in that occasion. And now Sinister will need to back this up because that's not what we're used to seeing in those clutch circumstances. We generally, well, at least today, we've seen much more sound performances, but
Bomb located by attackers.
that doesn't really mirror the first half of Pro League for Sinister. So, as you will. Take it as you will, Raven.
So Sinister have rotated to Aviator Games, and it's not gonna stick the strat that they had for Kitchen. To be honest, I like what they did for Kitchen. I think it worked pretty well for most of it. Just some errors there. Nico got caught on his attempted flank, which really kick-started it for Knights. And I mean, like you said, if he was successful on that, if he got even one pick, I think that round would have played out very differently.
And props obviously to Pittsburgh Knights. I don't feel I gave them the satisfaction of that round. They played that very well toward the end. In a 4v4, finding the vertical play onto the solo Fisho guy on site to deny at least denial of the entrance. That was a very weirdly structured sentence, but I think you get what I meant in the end there. Milo's going to be in a similar situation to what holding before. Nicely read from Haywood. Does push a little bit further. And now can put the pressure on. There's no call to come from Sinister. And Haywood will find an opening, maybe a second. Not this time. Nico with the trade.
Good refrag, but yeah, bit of a breakdown in communication you'd have to say there with, I think it was Fisher guy falling off the angle, leaving Milo exposed. Maybe just some error in judgment, but either way, it was a good refrag. Meant that it didn't get too hectic, and Haywood off the board with the IQ means there's a lot of utility that they won't be able to spot out with the scanner. I'll have to do it manually, so to speak, with the drone, or physically look at it. So that's one thing that will work in Sinister's favour for this. But Knights have done pretty well. They've cleared that side of the map in the first half. They can start to put some pressure on towards the actual bomb sites.
Sinister definitely have some time management operators still in the good. Obviously, smoke being one of the key parts there to see how many smoke babes are left. I would assume all three. It would not have been really another circumstance in which you might have had to use it, but wait and see. Luna from Volt, Fisher guy behind the bar, and Nico holding down that long angle. Stig knows full well that there's at least one there. Some nice droning as well toward that mid to late round, Raven.
Yeah, an impact coming through the drone hole to try and clear some of those Hibana charges. Not sure whether they were successful. Doesn't look like it. Looked like they were just using a line of sight anyway, which that impact will not reach. I like Vinnie's position in study, but Knights don't look like they're going to bother dealing with it. And with that air jabbed off now, could cause some issues if Vinnie to rotate back in, but Potentially that's been shot off or can be shot off because there is somebody playing around Aviator in the vault that should get an angle onto it. Looks like it's going to be the execute now, Rob. 20 seconds to go.
Nice denial there from Fisho Guy just to slow down the progress of Pittsburgh. Luna will find Strider. Now with the man advantage, they should be able to secure this. Vinnie making sure of it. And Stigs may as well save the KDR at this point because there's absolutely no hope in this round. So he will. In fact, he'll take one with him to the grave. But Sinister with a extremely nice hold toward the later end of that round.
Yeah, and it was that strong position from Vinnie in study that did secure it for them. Playing as the Maestro, he could just pre-fire that Aviator door, and once the Fuser was stuck on site, there was no way they were getting back to it with him there. So nicely played from Sinister. Potential oversight from Pittsburgh after their good start. And now Sinister only 2 rounds away from taking the map, and 1 round away from securing themselves at least an extra point.
I still couldn't imagine that that would have been the case coming into tonight. 1, let alone 2 maps for Sinister. It was a storyline of when. Not how, but when were they going to get the 3 points? When were they finally going to get the win in their Season 11 campaign? And well, we've already answered that question, but will we double it up tonight? Will they quite literally, let's say, quadruple their points at a certain point from 1 to 7? Will Sinister convert this second matchup against Pittsburgh? The Knights have something to say about it. So far, you'd have to say the Knights have responded decently, a lot better than map number 1, but it feels like the consistency just hasn't been there.
I definitely feel like they've picked up their game, but Sinister are doing well to adapt, and this is another good test that you could say Sinister are starting to pass. Pittsburgh picked up their form. They've had some great rounds that they've strung together, but Sinister have adapted to that pretty well, and on top of that, Knights still have some gaps, there's some big oversights. Really, Vinnie being able to play so comfortably in study when they were ready for an execute, I think was a bit of an oversight, and they probably just had no idea he was there, to be honest.
That'll definitely always a cost to the price of little intel. Again, taking their time. Milo's going to get a free kill as well. That's Joey going down. The Buck, who honestly has opened up so much of that vertical play. Pittsburgh are going to try to react to this, but it's just too late. Dino not going to be given anything. In fact, Milo's just been allowed to run back to site, scot-free.
Yeah, and that's going to waste time because they're going to think, where is he? Is he still down in basement? We're going to have to set up another flank drone. They're going to dedicate, you could say utility, but drones in general to try and watch that because they're probably not going to hunt it, and they're not. They're pushing away. Dino can use some air jabs if he wants to, but either way, it's utility that is not being used on site. It's not necessarily hindering Sinister so much. So it's a great start for Sinister. Milo getting that free pick, essentially. He will be back on site, and the puck off the board means no vertical play from below. They can play more comfortably.
Wow. Fisher guy walking right into a claymore. Stigs will come in to clean up. Given anything just yet. Just edging around the corner, trying to find that position toward desk. Luna, nor any member of Sinister have really played Astro. I don't think Pittsburgh did either, if I'm being completely honest. I think that that was pretty much left free, bar that 1 round. Ooh. Oh no, Stigs, you've got to hit those.
Luna very lucky to be alive. Not really sure what Stig's hit there, but she has managed to push back. Knights pushing deep though, getting a couple of picks, and now on site, picked off though by Milo, bringing it back. 2 versus 3, 40 seconds. They've still got some time, and they've got the man advantage.
Spacing there from Pittsburgh, a little bit strange. Dino going down as he tried to obviously clear Stat. Now just waiting. Still a chance for a flank here. It looks like Nico's going to do exactly that. Just too little too late. The C4 won't catch anything either. And Milo might just be able to slow this down. A 2 versus 2. Stigs will find Nico, bringing it back. Milo, how good is your aim? How good is your brain? It's going to be tested right now. Already being spotted out. Raven, I cannot see this happening. He is going to continue to push. He will be able to down one. Will he just stick this right now? Stig's going to be able to get into the position quick enough. It doesn't look like it. But Milo getting played a fool. Stig's from underneath. You love to see it.
Yeah, played well from Stig's. Not going to be hunted down, especially after he picks off the IQ in Master Bedroom. Milo giving himself a great chance to clutch that out. He was going for the ace, but ending on the 4. Technically 3, actually, because he didn't finish the one off in Master Bedroom. Pittsburgh, will be happy to finally secure that one out. Keeping in tabs with Sinister, just not letting them get too far away. And really, Pittsburgh won't want them to be getting another round, because even if Pittsburgh get a draw, there's no way they'll be happy with that.
No.
They're going for this win, and they're going to have to get 3 rounds in a row to do that.
It's quite the tall order.
Yeah, especially considering the way that Sinister has been playing.
Yep. And that's the thing, right? When you talk about the way they've been playing, they've adapted incredibly well to the circumstances that they've had at hand. More often than not, Pittsburgh haven't been able to string together more than the one round. I think there's been maybe one occasion, we'll make that 2 occasions, where they've been able to find 2 consecutive rounds, but Sinister just not giving them a moment to kind of calm themselves and prepare for that next round. They've just consistently been making those adaptations that have continued to put pressure back onto the Knights. We will be heading back down to Kitchen and Dining. Round in which we saw only narrowly going the way of Knights.
10 seconds left.
But nevertheless, it still went that way.
It did. And look, I really backed the way
5 seconds
Sinister
left
played it
before insertion.
last time. I think they had a great roam. It delayed a bit over a minute, wasted a lot of utility, and then they bailed away to maintain or preserve their man count. And I think that worked out really well. It just kind of slipped away from them. And then maybe you could say some poor decisions led to Knights closing that round out. And I think they can potentially bring this back if they try not to change it too much. Funnily enough to say that, I don't think there was a lot that they should change. Maybe just some decisions.
Well, it's going to come down to this round for Pittsburgh, we'll say. 3 points on the line. Whereas Sinister are trying to claw that at least confirmed 1 point. They've been able to spot out that pulse and the information. My goodness. Haywood will be sending that back and forth from Pittsburgh. Still on that pulse, and Haywood looks like they're still trying to watch. A little bit more antsy now. It's a slightly awkward style of engagement. The pulse on a buck with both players knowing the position of each other.
Yeah, that's C4 not hitting the mark, and now Hayward actually gets a kill with the pistol, and it is on the pulse. So that tussle has finally been won. It did burn some time, but that's some important utility that Vincie won't be able to relay back to his team. And now also Knights have this top 4 control, really important for them, and they've got a bit of time to deal with it. If Sinister try to go for this flank, I think Knights have too much time to have an effective flank watch set up. It's not going to work out for them, really.
Well, I know I hate to be Captain Obvious, but Pittsburgh do lose a player in the meantime, so it makes it back to that 4v4. Sinister are just going to play and wait for the choice of Knights, and right now it looks like Nico trying to make another big play here on that flank. Haywood, have they read this? It looks like it's going to be exactly the same encounter as before. This time Haywood can't get into position. Nico as well. He's going to fall back to sight. 40 seconds remain in Pittsburgh. They've just lost their advantage.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with Hayward there. He kind of looked like he was prepared already for a flank, but just caught off guard completely by Nico. It's worked out in their favor this time, and now it's really starting against Knights. The time ticking away will put a lot of pressure, and so will that pick. 4 versus 2 now, and oh, it's all up to Stig's. Rob, it's going to be tough for him now.
Tough, impossible. I don't know how I'm going to really word this, but unlikely and impossible. That's the best way to put it.
5 seconds.
Good luck, Stigs. Yeah, I mean, I'd be doing the same thing at that point. Second to remain. And looks like they just finished him off in the end. Nico just padding those stats a little bit further. Now, whether we will see a rehost or not from that earlier downfall, we will wait and see. Dino returns. Oh. How good's that? How good is that, Raven?
Just in time.
Oh, I am not disappointed in that whatsoever.
Yeah, he came back just in time, and it means that this can be preserved. Sinister, they're 1 round away. Let's point that out. They're 1 round away from taking another 3 points tonight, which would be a double win. Pittsburgh need 2 rounds to get themselves at least 1 point. And look, I'm not necessarily shocked, but this is definitely quite different to how I expected this series to play out. I thought Pittsburgh would be at least like tooth and claw right next to Sinister, but Sinister just constantly stepped it up, made necessary adaptations, and they're just getting away with things, and that's how they're here. That's how they are 1 point, or 1 round away, I should say, for securing a perfect night. 6 points to their name on the standings.
It is a new beast almost, isn't it? The wake of the night, they have almost transitioned into whatever you would call this. Sinister are just having the time of their life right now, and rightfully so. You do have to highlight one player in specific, and that would be Nico across both of these matchups. Very crucial in multiple points. And it's one thing, again, I said it before and I'll say it again, it's the one thing that differs between the good teams and the great teams, the good players and the great players. It's how do you perform under pressure? How do you perform when everything's turned on its side and your back's against the wall? Whether it be in a round or whether it be in a map or a series. It's something that we like to highlight quite often, Raven.
It is, and Knights going to be droning in below, making sure they're not going to get surprised by any roamers. Milo is the only one that I'm seeing below from Sinister. Whether they actually caught him and they know where they need to pinch here or not is remaining to be seen. Haywood has got a good position at the main stairs. Potentially they might push aggressive here. Joey's with him, maybe just trying to get vertical control from below in the library. Either way, Milo looms as the Jaws shark, waiting to pounce, waiting to strike. If they are not ready for it, it could be the end of this series.
There is Nico. That's Haywood, hello, okay. Milo will find the first, but not the second one. Milo shot past Haywood and found the kill. That's an opening. Stigs as well takes down Nico. Fortunately enough for Sinister, the remaining 3 members are on site and not in awkward positions either. They can bunker down and double down as well as we hit that minute 30 mark.
Use of the Jackal, good. I mean, it means that they don't have to be as thorough with their drones. They can use the Inox to find those footsteps and figure out whether somebody is actually on the roam. That Impact missing the mark, not getting any of those Hibana charges, which means that that hole will be rotatable. Sticks finds Vinnie, finally finished off, which means it's up to Fisho and Luna. They are on good anchor operators, and Fisho is in a good position here at the top of the main stairs. Can flank around, use this shield to get a pick. Could be the difference.
Luna getting aggressive again as Fisho guy takes down Haywood. Surely this isn't how we see the round finish, how we see the map finish. A 4 versus 2. Fisho guy, 2 smoke babes left, will fall back to site. Luna now in a very awkward position for Knights to try and fight. They've still got to be careful of their pre-open Hibana hatch, or if you will, Hibana rotate. That smoke babe just buying more time, Raven.
It is, and Luna is in such a good position, and this is the position that won them this defense last time. It was Vinnie alive, though. But either way, they're not going to be expecting a player playing so freely in study. I wouldn't think so. That's a great smoke, allowing the entrance, and now this plant can potentially come down if they want to.
Very well played from Strider. In fact, actually pushes through to find Luna. It's now on the Fisho guy who goes in and has to try and find the engagement. Fisho guy, what a way, what a clutch. It all comes down to that, and Sinister will secure another 3 points in this series tonight.
Fisho absolutely closing that out for Sinister. What a great play from him, getting that kill and the knife to finish the planter. It was Sinister all night, really, in the end. Rob, 7-4, doing justice to their performance on that map, and they're taking home 6 points.
It is a really strong start from Sinister and something that they will undoubtedly be proud of. 6 points in 2 matches, 1 point in 8 matches. You couldn't write a better script than that.
Yep, they're definitely going to be happy shaking that off finally, securing some wins, and it's not just 1 win tonight, it's 2, and that's a big deal. That's showing some consistency. It's something we brought up after that first map. We said the big test for them now is, can they be consistent? Can they replicate this on other maps?
Yep.
And now that's a big check. On top of that, I said they haven't really thrown rounds, so another check against what was going wrong for them in that first half. I think the next step is, how do they show up next week?
Well, that is where we kind of put our attention to, because consistency is great in a series, it's great in one night, but what is even better is watching the progression from, you know, match day number 1 to, or let's say the first half to the second half. How do we then see the polar opposite change? Do we see it continue, or is this just a lucky night? Is this just one of those nights where you're feeling it? It doesn't look like that, Red.
No, it doesn't. Like, a lot of the stuff they were pulling out, the adaptations they were making, plays that worked out well for them, it was consistent through both maps, throughout each round. A couple of mistakes here and there, some poor decisions, but like, that will happen, and they are a team in recovery, you could say.
Yep.
So I think vast majority of the night was a pass for them.
Do you think that this is possibly somewhat alluding to Milo coming into that IGL role? Do you think that that has alleviated some of the pressure from those other players?
I think it probably, you could put it down to that.
Yep.
That's a massive thing to do, to change IGL or primary IGL, because usually teams have a couple. So like, I'd imagine Fisho is probably still got a hand in some kind of shot calling or IGL duties, but it helps to have that pressure alleviated. And maybe that was something that was affecting the team. He was feeling too much pressure as a primary shot caller.
Yep.
And it was meaning that not only was he maybe not performing as well, but it meant his IGLing or shot calling wasn't as effective, and that was leading to the whole team kind of breaking down. So just having that fresh pair of, you could say fresh pair of eyes on the
Yep.
role, or fresh voice, I think it seems like it has helped them.
Yeah, sometimes you know, the decay can start and there's only one way to stop it, it's to cut it off. Cut the limb off to save the body, right? And sometimes that is a really bad analogy, because it sounds like I'm saying that they've brought Milo in and cut someone out. Like, do you know what I mean? That's not the case at all. It's just changing the roles around,
Yeah.
giving some players some more freedom can sometimes do them a world of good. However, Pittsburgh, I don't want to say it's disappointing, because by no means was that Pittsburgh's fault. That was not, that did not come down to Pittsburgh not playing well enough. Sinister had their chances to, Pittsburgh had their chances, but Sinister were just stepping up to the plate time and time again. What's the big takeaway for Pittsburgh here?
Good question.
Yeah.
They've got a really, I'm not going to say go back to the drawing board or anything like that, but they have had a roster change. So let's be fair. They've
Yep.
brought Joey in. That's probably made some differences to their team. I'm not 100% sure how much they've changed with roles, or whether their play style in general might have changed a bit.
Yep.
It didn't appear so, but they also never really seemed to have gotten started. It just felt like it was a series of, oh, maybe this is Pittsburgh coming back, or, oh, this is Pittsburgh playing well.
Yep.
But then Sinister just adapted, and then it was back again to Pittsburgh trying to bring it back somehow. And I just feel like we never really got to see them in their element, or what they actually look like.
And just for clarity for those of you at home, the 2 wins that Pittsburgh have been able to take away was against TBD on Border 7-1, and then Alleviate 7-3 on Coastline, in amongst the draw with Wildcard. So there's some pretty good results. There's some sound results that we've seen. And with this now, they've taken Sinister out of the pack. However, the biggest concern right now is these teams that are in the bottom 4, I believe, now play each other. Definitely,
Yep.
These 2 teams now play the bottom 4 teams.
Yep.
So it does open up this kind of race for not relegation, but the bottom 4, right? It does kind of, it puts a little bit more pressure on toward Fury and on toward Kanga, because if this is how we're going to see Sinister line up and stack up against a team that is what would have thought to have been the better team,
Yep.
it's a scary prospect even.
Yeah, and I like the point that you brought up about the impact it has on the other teams in the bottom 4, because I think if Sinister had lost both maps tonight, Fury and Kango would have been like, okay, Sinister's going to be our go-to for points, because it looks like they're really not fixing their issues.
Yeah.
But here they are. They're not looking as free as I guess you could say they were in the first half.
Yeah.
So now these other teams that were maybe thinking of the points we'll get down here, that's them. That's not the case anymore. And a lot of these teams are now going to have to probably rejig some of the prep and their general mindset coming into that game.
Do you think that this could be an effect, a flow-on effect from Sinister? You know, sure, we've seen the changes that they've made throughout this break, but do you think that that was also partly to their results, the fact that they had those top 4 teams to begin with? Do you think that that has kind of shot a bit of blood, a bit of life into Sinister coming into this, knowing that the pressure is off them so much?
I think to an extent, yeah. And also, I mean, a point with that is those good teams, and I'm not saying the other teams aren't good, but the better teams will expose your mistakes more. So I think it's fair to say that maybe that is a factor, or a massive factor, that was in the first half of Sinister. So they can come here, play more comfortably, get away with a little bit more. But instead, I don't know, their teamwork just looked good regardless.
Yeah.
So I don't think there were as many mistakes to expose.
Yep. Well, you know what? We can put Sinister to the side for a second. We got Stig's on the line. Hey, mate. How you doing?
Hey guys, how are you?
Oopsies, I've accidentally totally fluffed that up. I'm looking at the wrong thing here. My bad. How are you feeling after tonight's performance?
Yeah, not too good. Really poor performance. No excuses for it. It was just horrible. But all we can do is learn, as I've been saying, so we'll try and learn from it.
Yeah, I want to ask you about the performance overall. Have you found that there's been struggles with bringing Joey in, or a bit of teething issues, or is there something else kind of at play with how it was working for you guys tonight?
I think it was just overall, honestly, our team. But there has been some, hurdles we're going to get over bringing in Joey. But not that they're bad hurdles, it's just going to take some more time, which is, going to happen. But yeah, I think just overall our team play was pretty bad.
Do you have any other questions, Raven?
Actually, I do want to ask you about the map veto. I mean, we saw Clubhouse and Villa. Both maps you've had mixed performances on. Were they maps that you were really planning to go for? Was there some surprises in the map veto tonight?
No surprises. Those were the 2 maps we actually were going for, but yeah, just couldn't perform, unfortunately.
It's a sad time. Honestly, it is hard to see. Obviously, you guys have just joined Pittsburgh, so how are you feeling about that overall?
Yeah, it's great to finally get picked up. You know, we were waiting a long time, waiting to get into Pro League so we could prove ourselves and prove our worth. We didn't do that tonight, but, we're going to go back to the drawing board and, rebuild and rework everything.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you still got 2 matches to do that, so it's not all over yet. Would you like to say any final words before we close out?
Yeah, just thanks to everybody for supporting, and huge shout out to Pittsburgh for the support as well. We appreciate it a lot and look forward to the future.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, mate. Better luck in the next 2 matches.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Oof.
That threw me off so hard that when I saw the Sinister logo come up, I was like, am I seeing things right now?
Yeah. Also, oh man, he just sounded so disappointed.
Yeah, it is heartbreaking because obviously we spoke to Stigs right before the end of the season, and he was pretty jolly, if I'm being completely honest. I believe Elevate was their last game before they closed out the first half, and it kind of felt like they were on a high, they were in good spirits, and coming in with a new org as well, you'd have high expectations of yourself. The org might not necessarily have those kind of expectations, but it's still going to be on your shoulders no matter what.
For sure, and I mean, that's a big point. I brought it up at the start of the series, but maybe it did play some kind of factor tonight, just this background nerves being the first match under the Pittsburgh Knights banner might have just had that perceived pressure, or even, they might not even realized it, but sometimes it really just is in the back of your mind, like, oh, this is the first night with our new org.
Yeah.
Like, let's put on a good show. And just by thinking that, you can really put yourself on the back foot from the start.
Well, that's the worst part is, as a whole game, as what we saw, it wasn't even necessarily like it was Pittsburgh completely on the back foot. It just felt like they were never able to get past those hurdles that just continuously seemed to pop up. And Sinister were just doing a great job of putting them down, right? Putting down the little tracks to keep them deviated from what was maybe their set goal. And Pittsburgh, not the greatest of nights.
No, it wasn't. And I mean, we're going to come back to it a lot, and I'm sure it's going to be watched a lot on social media. That trick play on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
I think that was really the nail in the coffin. I mean, Pittsburgh did come back a bit on Villa, but it really depends on a team's overall mindset. But something like that, when it happens, can just it can ruin your night. Because even if you're trying to come back, it can be a struggle. It can feel forced. You'll get spates of success, but nothing consistent. And I have to say, after that round, I mean, they only won 4 rounds, and that was on Villa. I just don't think, they were really able to claw back after that.
Well, we're looking at the negative side of that, but how about we have a look at the positive side of that and hear from Sinister themselves. Vinnie, how are you, mate? You'd be pretty stoked with that performances. 2 wins on the board in the second half of Pro League.
Yeah, absolutely ecstatic with that performance. Everybody really stepped up tonight, so really proud of the way everyone played.
I want to go straight to it, man. The Clubhouse trick play. Do you guys prepare for that coming into this match? Did you pre-plan like what site you do first, when you'd bring it out? Can you talk us through how that came about?
So yeah, we've been sitting on that strat for a little while. It wasn't specifically for this game, but we knew if we ever want to bring it out, we could really fool confident teams into thinking that we were doing an SSG roam. And yeah, we were super stoked that it came off. We've been practicing it a while. Not so much around the ANZ scene because we didn't want to give it away too much. But yeah, honestly, like that was one of the first times it came off. So we're really happy with it.
Well, what a time for it to work.
Yeah.
The other thing I really want to ask you is after the first half, it was pretty clear in interviews, at least from your coach, and I think Fisher was one guy we spoke to as well, certain issues that you guys were facing. How do you feel now after the break? This match, do you feel like you've really come out the other side of those issues?
Yeah, so going into the break after the first half, we knew that the roles needed some switching. We never had that really dominant voice to command on attacks, especially. You know, to really drive our attacks forward, and we found that Milo was definitely our most dominant voice and the one that could stop us from stalling, which was definitely our biggest problem. During the first split, and it's a lot better now. Yeah.
Nice.
So I've got to ask, these are the 2 wins on the board for the season. Unfortunately, the first half wasn't too good, as Raven obviously already alluded to, and yourself have alluded to in previous interviews. Well, Sinister as a whole. Are we going to see a stronger Sinister toward the end of this second half?
Yeah, of course. We went into the first half knowing that we had really tough games during the first half, coming up against really good opponents, and you know, the second half will be against lower on the ladder teams, but we know that our performances will hold up against these teams, and we're really confident going to the second half.
Wonderful. Well, do you have any final words?
Obviously, thank you for the continued support. After the first half, it might have been difficult to stay on board with us, but we all really appreciate it. So thank you guys so much.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Vinnie. Congratulations on your 2 dubs, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, boys. See you later.